So we're going to look real quick at lead sources, our delivery, go back over that. I want everyone to understand this. If you can't explain the TV lead system, then your agents will struggle. We get calls that shouldn't be coming in. We've been doing this now for 1.5 years. It should be pretty self-explanatory. The better you can explain it, the more they will understand, and the better understanding they have, the better they will do with the system. If they just walk in and buy leads, it's no different than agents in years past. When who remembers when internet leads came out and hit the marketplace? You know, $5 for a lead. Boy, everybody bought them, thousands of dollars, and 6 months later, everybody hated them, right? Because no one explained an internet lead. And so TV leads, you have to have a good understanding of it. So they're live call transfers, meaning those TV leads, those TV commercials are running all over the country. And I'm going to hit this several times, but you have to understand, just because you only bought Montana or New York or whatever, has nothing to do with where that TV commercial's running. First of all, we purchase TV leads or calls from vendors or advertising agencies that sell to other markets. So that commercial's running in all 50 states. And it's not uncommon, by the way, as I stated, when we were in the Dominican, we saw the commercial running in the bar. Not that I was drinking in the bar, I just happened to be walking by and saw that. And so why is that? That's because that hotel purchased that cable network or that satellite network from someone in the States. Therefore, that channel was playing there. It's not that we sell in the Dominican, because we do not. But that app, it's going to run everywhere. We have a final expense commercial. We actually have 2 to 3 that run based upon use and usage, but our primary final expense commercial is run by a company called Barrington. Barrington's out of Connecticut. When we first started this, we ran final expense TV commercials through a company called ProMedia. ProMedia sold all of their leads to another competitor, and so we lost all of our leads from ProMedia, which initially was bad. In the long run, it ended up being good. Now they've lost that contract and they're begging us to buy them back. So now it puts us in a good position to what? To negotiate. Excuse me. We have Medicare TV leads. The Medicare TV leads are created twofold. We have our own Medicare commercial, which is proprietary to Gordon Marketing, but it doesn't say Gordon Marketing, it says Benefit Plans of America. And then we also purchased TV leads through Barrington. The one that we have that's proprietary doesn't pull as well, but it's a great lead when we get it. It's a lot smaller ad agency. We pay a lesser cost when we go through them. Barrington pulls very well. I may have said that backwards. But Barrington pulls very, very well. Let me say, we do not have an issue getting leads through Barrington if we need Medicare leads. If you have an agent or an agency that can invest in themselves and purchase the leads, we can fill those leads with Barrington. You give Barrington a number, Barrington will fill the order. It's just that simple. They're able to place ads on hundreds of TV networks like that. Now, we have a term life commercial. It hasn't launched yet, correct?
No, it
hasn't launched. No. It's ready to launch. But we've got to get agents signed up. Here's the challenge. Understand this, that each week Alicia has to place an order to purchase leads. We place that by Tuesday or Wednesday now? Tuesday. If we don't place it by Tuesday, we have to wait a week. Once we place it, we can't take it back. The money goes over, we submit an invoice, Dave pays the invoice, Dave Riddle pays the invoice. So if we purchase 100 leads, they're going to run us about $4,000 out of pocket. That money's not coming back. We have to have agents committed that have signed up, that have paid, that are waiting for their leads. We can't say, well, can I have leads between the hours of 10 and 3? Yeah, you can. Go make your own and call them leads. We can't do that. I can't shut the TV commercial off. The other one is, if I tell you you can do that, what do I do with those leads that come in between those times? If I don't have somebody to purchase them, we end up buying them, reselling them, using them. During AEP, it wasn't bad because we sell them or use them in our own call center. So our call center takes the overflow leads with Medicare. We stop taking them. We take them every now and then from final expense because Todd knows how to sell final expense. Elliot's team does not. Elliot's team is strictly Medicare supplement. And so what we want to do is stop wasting those leads. And so it's not that it's a waste, they get used, but it gets difficult. Agents think they can negotiate. Well, that's not a live call transfer, so I don't want to pay $45 for it. Even though it is a live call transfer, in their mind it's not. So back to that transfer. The TV commercial is running. Someone dials the 1-800 number. That 1-800 number goes through our switch, which is a software program called Bobberdo. Bobberdo connects to the agent. So when the agent picks up the phone, they hear a whisper message. It'll either say final expense call or Medicare TV call. It tells the agent in their ear what kind of call it is. And the first person they hear is the prospect on the other end. So nobody is screening those calls. They come through live. And so they're the first person to speak with them. Things that we have picked up on through the year and we've shut down is agents catching on to the system. Meaning they hear a final expense TV call, pick it up, hang it up. In their mind, they don't get charged for it because they didn't speak to anybody. So we audit their calls. When I catch people doing that, we terminate their ability to use those leads. Because if there's a will, there's a way. They'll try to figure out a way to get over on you. This one is going to be big for us, we hope. And any first indication is it's going to be those are SEO leads. You'll hear the word SEO a lot. We use it interactively around here. That is not LinkedIn, Facebook, recruiting ads. That would be social media. But it works in much the same way. We have purchased, we are building out SEO sites. Jay Lane is by and large taking care of this. We've now built a few hundred sites. You won't see them. They run behind the scenes. It's what Google likes to see. Each one of those sites serves for 2 to 3 states, and they're filled with AdWords. And meaning, in other words, there's 100 AdWords per page, so that if someone out there and Googles, it could be AdWords that doesn't even make sense. You understand, we could put black sweater, and has anybody ever searched for something on Google and it brings you to a site and you're like, why in the world did it bring me here? And that's because the person building that site has filled it with AdWords. They've put it out and refreshed it constantly, which drove them to the top of the search engine list. And so what happens is, even though you put in a word you weren't looking for, that word was in their search engine, so boom, it drew you to their site. So you want those so that you can pull people to your site. So as we build these, we've now developed 2 pages. We actually have 3 sites. We have a final expense site that's already developed. We tested it. We launched it, and then the first day, there was 47,000 views or hits within an hour. Views. So we went to out of 47,000 hits, we were the #1 on Google. We popped up to the first page. Meaning if someone was truly looking, we would have a lot of traffic, and that's what you want. We have a Medicare site, and then we also have another SEO site that's been running for a year. And that's the site that by and large creates leads for the call center. And that's Medigap Central. Has anybody seen Medigap Central? So Medigap Central is our site. So this is one of the Medicare commercials. I'm not going to play it, so we don't have to. Jacob, sorry. This is the one we own. So this is dedicated to us. This is our commercial. Now, one of the things you need to understand, if you're building, we talked about building relationships a while back. If you have a good relationship with a large agency that money really is not an obstacle to shut them down, and they'd like to do their own, we can help them. So if they wanted this commercial and they wanted to brand it to their name, we can help them. They would have to pay. It's going to roughly cost somebody from startup, because we already have this, you're looking anywhere between $10,000 and $15,000 to edit the commercial, to add their name, their phone numbers to drive that business. We can still control the flow if we so choose, Or if you have somebody that just wants to do it on their own and you want to help with the relationship, we can set them up to where they can make that contact and make that possible. We have a few life carriers that right now, agencies, I'm in the process of handing it off to them and letting them go directly to the ad agency. Pull their own leads, do their own things. Why? Get it off our plate, let them take over the responsibility. They will come back crawling and begging after they find out how difficult it is to run and monitor the flow. So we have that Medicare commercial, and this is our commercial that was with ProMedia. This is Angel Care. Does anybody recall Angel Care? This one is now available again. They have 3 commercials if we wanted to use them. We're negotiating. And so I will let you know if we go back to that. This is Senior Care. This is actually Barrington, isn't it? No, this is Angel Care. This is actually the company. ProMedia is doing the term life commercial. So that's ProMedia. And they're basically out of Miami, Florida. But again, keep in mind, these are advertising agencies. They do a lot of things differently. Barrington, I would tell you, is a very large agency. They go direct to the satellite carriers, the networks, the cable networks. They do their own thing. Many of these agencies actually buy traffic from one another and resell it. So one of the ad agencies we buy from actually buys leads from Barrington and resells them to us. And so obviously when I discovered that, we cut them out and went straight to Barrington. And so, but a lot of agencies do that. Let's talk about how it works now. So that this is the area you need to be able to explain, and an agent has to understand, or they're going to be disappointed with TV leads. I have never worked a lead as good as the TV leads. And Kent, one of the things, Barrington wants to develop an annuity TV commercial. When I was up there visiting, they feel very strongly, first of all, they deliver all kinds of commercials, hundreds of them. That they understand the market, if they sit down and deliver, that they could put out a commercial that would drive annuity traffic. They would be costly, because you're not going to get near the amount of leads. But most annuity leads are costly if they're any good. But good annuity agents will pay for a good annuity lead, right? Mm-hmm. But here's how it works. So first of all, we, as in Gordon Marketing, we contract. Now, in essence, we've never signed a contract or a letter of commitment, which is kind of unique. They all want contracts. We just do week to week, day to day, month to month. I have no obligation. I order leads, we send them a check. But they know that we pay our bills, so they have not forced us to sign a contract. And I wouldn't if they were to do so. But most of their relationships have a contract. But we, in essence, contract third-party agencies to run our commercials. The ad agencies then are contract, or they go out and contract with cable, satellite. I now understand they're going to do YouTube, Hulu, and all of that because they believe they're losing some traffic to those. So they're contracting through those to buy up open ad space. Here's where people get confused. If you want to run an ad between at a certain time, so somebody give me an important program to you that's willing to admit it. Haas, what's your favorite TV program? Don't mention those ones on that one channel.
I don't really watch this.
You don't watch TV. Who watches TV? Come on.
This is Us. It comes out at times.
This is Us. What is that? Never mind. So I must not watch that. If I wanted to run a commercial, on those commercial breaks, during that time, it's going to be very, very costly. Has anybody ever heard of the Super Bowl? You can run a commercial. We could run our commercial. We would just have to write a check for about $1.7 million for run one ad. And so you can't do that. So what does happen, and I've said this before, if you watch TV programming, you realize that sometimes TV commercials break right to the commercial. You're watching the program, and all of a sudden it breaks right to the commercial. There's no hesitation. That means that all the ad space in that day has been sold. There's no leftover time. At other times you'll watch a TV program and there's a little delay. It may not seem like much, but 2 seconds is a long time. You know, 1, 2. If you multiply that times out about 150 commercials a day, you end up with 8 or 9 minutes of leftover ad space. That's the ad space that we run in. So you might see that, so when would you see that commercial typically run? In areas where people aren't interested in running their ads, okay? That's the cheapest ad space. If you're not going to see it during some prime time network shows. Now it could, I'm an NCIS guy, everybody watch NCIS? Yeah. I still can't believe part of those people are leaving, but I've seen the commercial run between NCIS. That's because on that day, if you watched it, we had a lot of runs. Meaning, for whatever reason that day, there was a lot of open ad space. If there is no ad space available, you won't see the commercial run. We'll get agents calling and go, hey, I bought leads, but I don't see the commercial running. We have no control over that. If there's no ad space available, it's not going to run. Now, I can run it by changing, and I'll talk about that, but it's very costly and it's a risk. So if you run your own business and you decide you want to promote your business through commercials, it's very costly, but really what it is very what? Risky. There's no guarantee. Anybody ever run a TV, a newspaper ad? No one's ever run? Yeah. You know, in the old days you run the newspaper ads, you'd spend $500 to put a little bitty ad in the Sunday Star. You'd open up the Sunday Star and it'd be like 40 pages of one ads. Remember those days? Now the one ads have almost disappeared because of Career Builder and all those places. But that's how you ran ad space. But you had no guarantee someone was going to run your ad, read your ad. We ran recruiting ads every week in the Sunday Star. We would spend about $40,000 a week to run recruiting ads across the country, and the average agency would get 3 to 5 calls. $100 a piece for a call. So it's very risky. So no different here. So the commercials run nationally wherever there's open time. So you might see it in Washington and not in Virginia. You could see it in New York and not in Florida, or vice versa. It's wherever there's open ad space. Unless we have forced the ad space, which I'll talk about. So it runs nationally. It's got an 800 number. The 800 numbers will vary based upon regions sometimes. Some ad agencies will use the same 800 number all across the United States. Others don't. Your ad agencies that are large typically do not. And the reason is they want their metrics. In other words, they want to run that commercial and see where it runs best, how many calls do they get, what time of the day do they have it on. We can tell you with Barrington, I can tell you the days of the week it runs best, the hours it runs best, when you have the most traffic. So that's why they use different numbers so they can track those metrics. But the inbound calls are purchased based on a pay per call. So again, remember, ad agencies don't sell leads. They sell traffic. So they sell calls. We buy them on a system called pay per call. Meaning, if I contact Barrington and tell them this week, how many leads do we order because it's Christmas? 100? We just ordered, I cut down, almost eliminated leads starting Thanksgiving. What we learned last year was what? Agents don't work from Thanksgiving out. But people also aren't as apt to dial the phone. Why? It's not that they're not interested. So by the way, first of all, you need to get this notion out of your head. And if you're working with agents, the senior population does not change what they do just because it's Christmas. They're not like a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old that's running out, or like my wife buying all the grandkid stuff. Their life goes on. They still make purchases. They still have to take care of their Medicare. They still take care of their CDs. Their life goes on, but their thought process changes a little bit. So if I'm watching the commercial, even though I still need to get my MedSup fixed, I'm probably not dialing it because I've got all these other things going on in my mind. So we back it down. We almost shut completely down after Thanksgiving. We won't pick up till next week after next. And so we're going to make some changes before we pick up to better control our costs. So inbound calls are purchased on pay per call, meaning we pay for every call that comes inbound. Some ad agencies will give you a buffer, say 30-second or a 45-second buffer. Meaning that when that call is answered, if it lasts 30 seconds, you pay for the call. So it doesn't matter if somebody babbles on for 30 seconds. Remember, they don't sell leads, they sell what? Calls. So ProMedia gives us a 30 to a 45-second buffer. Barrington has no buffer. If it rings and you answers, you're charged. We refused. They don't give buffers to anybody else. We have a 15-second buffer. Because they do not sell leads. They sell traffic. I can tell you it's up to the agent, and the amazing thing is the number of leads we get that agents say it was a bad call, somebody hung up, it was this, it was that. Yet we have our call center take those same calls when they're 90 to 120 days old, call them back, and week before last, brand new agent Tim sold 5 policies in the first 2 days, selling the leads that everybody says was no good. So you have to think about what happened on that lead, and this is how you can help educate the agents, and we'll get much greater sales out of this. This is probably the greatest information you can put out to them. Someone dialed the phone number. Right? We talk about that anxiety level that someone has when they dial. They dialed the phone number, so their emotions were triggered. Something triggered in their lives to force them to dial that 800 number. They had a need. But between dialing the phone number and the agent picking up the phone number, you get half or more that do what? Man, their anxiety level explodes. They get scared. They realize it's a what? A sales call, and they hang up. But they still had a need. Has anybody ever had agents use direct mail lead cards? Someone filled it out and mailed it in. And then it dawned on them, these are salespeople calling me. So anxiety, it's up to you as the agent to do what? Catch them at the right time, the right place, call them back, catch them when they're off guard. They still had a need. Just because they hung up on you doesn't mean it. It just means they freaked out. They realized it was a sales call. You need to educate your agents or the lead. They really shouldn't do it. So it's a pay-per-call, it's a cash or a cash buy. Pay-per-call is by and large the most inexpensive way that we can do it. It's simply as that. We pay for each call that comes in the door. There are no refunds. The ad agencies do not refund. Okay? We can do a cash buy. Cash buy, very risky. It can be very, very profitable or very, very costly, and there's no way of ever knowing. What is a cash buy? I've done it twice for Arkansas. We did it one time for the state of Arkansas. I only spent like $1,700. What happens is simply this. The ad agency reaches out to all the local networks and says, we'd like to run a commercial for 2 weeks. Usually you can't do it for less than 2 weeks. And it's going to run in certain time slots. They'll send you out the schedule. It's going to run 8 times a day. It's going to hit these time slots over the following 2 weeks. And you can run them longer, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but usually it's a minimum of 2 weeks. And then those agencies will send you back and say, here's your cost. You pay one cost up front, you get every lead that comes in. There's not a per cost lead. So we ran it one time like $1,700 in Arkansas, and the phone blew up. Lead cost was probably $3 a piece. And the people in Arkansas were excited. Because I tell the agents, if you want to do that cost call, cash buy, we'll do it, but you have to pay. We did it again. We spent about $4,700. We got like 2 leads. No calls. They weren't happy. They were happy the first time, loved us. Didn't like us the second time. It was the same formula. We ran them in Orlando. You would think that in Orlando, final expense calls would go crazy. We spent almost 20 grand. And I think we got 7 leads. What happened was we got some of our money back. We found out the ad agency ran the leads in the Orlando area of Maitland, Florida and Lake Mary, Florida. Now, if you know anything about Florida, Maitland and Lake Mary, average income's probably $280,000, $300,000. $1.2 to $1.5 million home. They weren't interested in $5,000 final expense policies. It happens. We ran cash buys in Puerto Rico. You would think it would have exploded, and it did nothing but the paper. So it's a risk. It's a risk. Here's when cash buys are not a risk. If you have, first of all, if money's not an issue, and you know your demographics well. So I will no longer do it if Kent had an agent that wanted to run one, and that agent called and said, I want to run it here, 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 and here, and here's, I know the age demographics, the income. In other words, that agent knows where they want it to run. They probably wouldn't take as big a risk. But if they ran it in the wrong location, you're not going to get any calls. It's just that simple. So you're going to buy them based on that. We use pay-per-call method. We have not done a cash buy in probably a year. The prospects dial the 800 number. The call is live. It's transferred to the agent live through our LMS or our lead management system. And our lead management system is Hague Rd. So there's no in between. No one's buffering. Agents hate it when they buy leads and they've been screened, called, or whatever. Okay. Now, keep this in mind. That's a live call transfer right on the spot. Does that mean that client hasn't called somebody else that day? Filled out an online form? Did a search? It doesn't, because most people that do lead cards do every lead card that comes in the mail. They do every internet site that comes. There's no way of saying how, but I can tell you this: they've only had the one call, because once they call, that call is scrubbed. It can't go to another agent. But here's what will happen: they'll dial the 800 number, and that call came to Brady, but Brady was one of those agents that was either busy, didn't do anything, didn't get out of bed, whatever, missed the call, hung up on the call. But the person wants to talk to somebody. So they turn around and dial the 800 number again. And they get somebody because Brady never answered the call. Now Brady gets up and does a return call. And the lady says, I spoke to Bria a while ago. She helped me out. And Brady goes, I'm mad. Somebody stole my lead. No, you didn't answer your call. And when they accuse us of that, we can go back through and look in our system and see exactly what happened. We can see who called, when they hung up, if they took the call, and we've caught people doing that. One of our better producing agents, and I cut him off for about a week or so until he begged, borrowed, and pled, and promised to never do it again. All the calls are recorded. So every single call that comes inbound is recorded on our lead management system. Now, let me say this. Here's the part that gets confusing. When is the call answered? Dalton, when's the call answered?
When they dial the 800 number.
When they dial the 800 number, it's not when the agent answers the phone. It's when the software answers the phone, which nobody even understands happened. So when the 800 number is dialed and it rings, it's answered by our software system. It is an answered call. It's already recording. As a matter of fact, the people in the back now with their kids are being recorded while they're in the house and they still hear the phone ringing. And you'll hear them talking to each other, and some of it's hilarious. I think it's a sales call. You should hang up. Hang up. They're going to answer the phone. You'll hear all kinds of things. Then when it's answered, that means the software located an agent and connected you. But that call could have already been answered for 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds. We're paying for that 8 seconds. That's part of our buffer. It's not when the agent answers, it's when the software answers. And if a call doesn't get connected with an agent, roughly 17 seconds is about the longest period of time anybody will stay on the phone waiting. Really, somewhere between 12 and 13 seconds, they hang up. So if you think about it, 7 or 8 dials, it rings. Now what it does is it rings, looks to the first agent, so it looks for Robin, say she was in the system, and it randomly selects the agent that's in that state. If Robin doesn't answer, then it's going to auto dial and go to look for the next agent in queue, which could be Bria. If that person doesn't answer, it rolls to our default number in the call center, so we answer, so that we don't lose the call. Because remember, it's a paid call. It was answered by the software system. So we either take it in the call center if we don't have somebody that can sell it that day. And Diana has done this. Angie has done this over there. Melanie has done this. They will take the call and develop the call, get the information from the consumer, and then try to connect with an agent. Try to find out. This is when Alicia will look through and see that that same agent's missed 7 calls. And then the next day call in and go, I'm not getting any calls. Well, you had 7 calls and you never answered any of them. And so that's why we audit the system. So anyway, and the agents, if it's transferred, they're called. They're charged. How do we charge them? In our lead management system, they have credits. The credits are based upon they either deposited funds or they had PPL credit they'd earned. Alicia adds the credits in the form of PPL. If they purchased with a credit card, it automatically adds it for them. And they're charged our rate that we charge. And our rate that we charge for final expense is $45. Just so you understand, our cost to the vendor averages $33 to $35. The problem is we upped it $10 to $12 thinking that would cover all of our costs, and it doesn't come close. We're going to leave final expense lead cost at $45. We're going to raise Medicare to $55. We pay $40 to $42 for a Medicare lead, and we've been charging $45, so it doesn't work. What I can tell you is this. Who has an issue paying lead costs like that for a lead? What kind of agent, Nancy?
One that's poor, doesn't act very well on the phone taking leads.
Listen, it can be a really good person, but makes $15,000, $20,000 a year. They're a part-timer, not really good at what they do. A top producing agent, who we want to deal with these, right? If they know how to sell, they know how to develop a rapport with a client, the cost of the lead doesn't mean anything. How much are your annuity leads?
$200 a pop.
$200 a pop. If the lead has value, a good agent will buy it and never complain. The agent that thinks, unfortunately, agents out there that just can't sell unless, if somebody walked up to them and said, please sell me something, they would fail half the time. The leads aren't going to help them. It's just not going to work. And they won't have value in the leads. What they think is the leads will make them successful. Leads will not make you successful. They will help someone that's successful be more successful. And that's who you want to look to. Why? Because you don't want the complaints. You don't want the complaints. Because there will be some if you do. So the lead management system works like this. Once an agent logs on, this is what the portal looks like. What we're going to do next week is get everybody on the portal, set them up, set you all up with a dummy ID, so to speak, so that you can go in and navigate, because you need to be able to help your agents understand what's going on, okay? So this is the system that answers the calls. Now, if they never go in and look, it won't matter. They should go in and look, and those that do well do go in and look. Trust me, they look every day. They'll call Alicia, hey, I just looked in my system and blah, blah, blah. So what happens is, this is the lead management system. You can see it's at the dashboard. It says My Leads. I know it's small back there. Settings, reports, add funds. If they click on add funds, they use their credit card, they buy their leads, the funds immediately deposit into their account, and they now have money to buy leads. So you don't have to help them. We do not collect credit card information anymore where people send it and I don't want it. We burn it, trash it, throw it away, because we don't want those floating around. If they want to reach us, please encourage them. If they call you and say, I haven't been able to get a hold of Alicia, I haven't been able to get a hold of somebody, haven't been able to get a hold of Brady, have you sent them an email to your lead management system? If they hit contact us, we will get that message. Problem is, agents want to what? They want to call and leave messages. Or whatever. I understand, and I like them too, but if you're somebody that's really busy, dealing with hundreds, can you take that many voice messages in a day? It's hard. But I can look at that message on the email when it pops up and go in and address their issue. So, all calls are delivered through the system. All calls are recorded and tracked, and we audit the calls. Let them know we audit the calls. And if they say, what do you mean by that? First, we're looking for what we would deem as a bad call. Okay? A child called in and played. And we have an agent in Florida. I use it every time, Frank. Most humorous call I've ever heard in my life. Probably a 7-8 minute call. He stayed on the phone with a little girl, probably 5-6 years old. She was looking for Charmin toilet paper. And he stayed on the phone. Said, and he placed orders with her and all kinds of stuff. And then he kept trying to get mom on the phone. I thought he was calling complaining. Here's the difference in an agent. He's one of our top producers. He'll be in New Orleans with us. His wife's going to have a baby, so he can't go to Costa Rica. So he's coming to New Orleans. He wasn't asking for a refund. He didn't even want a refund. He said, why would I ask you for a refund? It's not your fault. I wanted you to hear this call, man. He said, this made my day. That's the difference between a top producer and somebody that thinks the leads are going to make them successful. So, $19.95 a month, we're changing this to $24.95 a month. We're going in the hole. We can't do that. We spend roughly, what is our bill running out, Alicia? 20-some hundred a month, roughly? We roughly 2,400 a month. Now, here again, the agents that produce on a regular basis don't have a fee. We waive it. But I'm not going to pay for people that do nothing. And they're the same people that'll call Alicia every month. Hey, I didn't work 9 days last month. Can I get my fee refunded? $19.95 a month. And so we're going to raise that cost to $24.95 a month. We're not making any changes till February 1. February 1. We're going to put out a detailed memo. One, I have to get with Randy because of the life division. I want to be sure that he agrees with the message. But we're going to put out a message with the changes that's going to take place, and we won't make changes till February 1. That gives all of our agents all of January to be prepared for the changes that take place. They're not big changes, but they are change. So here's when you first go in, an agent would log on. That's what it looks like. This is the dashboard. Here's their recorded calls. So as you can see, every one of these is an inbound recorded phone call. When I look on this site, I see 4 minutes and 10 seconds, 2:37, 25 seconds, 8 minutes, an hour and 6 minutes. That was I hope that was a sale. I hope that was 3 sales. That was a 15 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 minutes, 13 seconds. Here's the other part of this to understand. Because agents are getting better and they're making more sales on there, we pay for the long distance when it's hooked up. That's why our bill's going up.
What leads go through the LMS or loaded up into the LMS?
Every lead that's ever come in through the TV program goes through here.
Just so the TV commercials.
The SEO leads will also deliver through here, probably beginning March or April. And I'm going to show you the SEO. But if you look at this, here's their lead ID number. This is what Alicia needs if we look up on a call. If somebody says, I want you to look at this lead, they'll call us and go, hey, I had a lead. I need you to look it up. Okay, well, we have hundreds of leads coming through. We can't identify them that way. And by the way, there could have been 2 calls at the exact same time to 2 different agents. Because the system takes what's called concurrent calls. We can have 1,000 calls come in at the exact same time to look for agents. There's no limit on how many calls can come into that 800 number at one time. So here in our company, we have call concurrency. Our call concurrency here, I think, is roughly 50, 60 calls at a time, and then it would get a voice message. Over in a call center, we have it set up with 12 calls at a time. This is call concurrency. There is no limit. We need the lead number. If we have the lead number, we can go right to it, do a search, pull up the lead, and listen to the lead. We listen to the leads. I would tell you, if you have an agent that's maybe complaining or concerned, first thing you should do is let Alicia know, and we'll have her log in with you, and go in and listen to some of their calls. Find out what they're doing wrong, like this. Hello? Yeah, what are you calling for? And trust me, we've had those kind of answers. And you call the agent back and go, are you kidding me? Have you listened to yourself? We give them a script. We tell them what to say. If I hear it says Medicare call, I'm going to answer the call accordingly. If it's a final expense call, I'm going to answer the call accordingly. If you don't answer right, people are going to hang up. Have you ever dialed the wrong number? Oh, sorry, and you hang up? Well, that's what they do. They think they got a wrong number because the person on the other end was unprofessional, didn't answer the call correctly. So again, these are recorded calls. You hit the play button, it'll play back the lead number. Agents don't do this, and I don't know why. I wish we could import it ourselves and find out why. They should do it, but I can tell you your larger agencies will do it, or should. And that is, they can track the status of the call. If you hit this, it's a drop-down box. It's a dead lead, meaning not they didn't die, but it's no longer good. Their follow-up, they made an appointment, or they sold it. If they put the premium right there, it will now track their ROI, their return on investment. And what it would show for them is I had 100 leads, I've made X amount of dollars, so my lead is worth X. So let me say this as a marketer. If you ask an agent this question, it'll tell you all you need to know a lot of times. What's your ROI on the leads you earn? If I were to call the guys, and I won't say their name because we're videoing, in Arkansas that buy your leads, they know how much they earn for those leads?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they could tell you. So ROI would mean this. If I made $10,000 on, say, 25 leads, what would my ROI be, my return on investment for those leads? That would tell you, if you divide that up, how much I make on a lead, how much that lead is worth to me. You see, if I buy $10,000 worth of leads and I make $1,000, I'm in the hole. That lead has no value to me. You can find out how well they run their business by asking them questions like that. And if they say, well, I don't understand what you mean, then just break it down. How many leads did you buy last month? I had 100 of them. How much did you write? I wrote 20 apps. How much money did you make? I made $20,000. So your leads are worth $200 a piece. That's their ROI. As long as their ROI is greater than their lead cost, they're going to continue to use leads. But if their ROI goes in the hole, why would they continue to use them? So if I paid $2,000 for your annuity leads, Clayton, and I made no sales, I'm probably not coming back next month, right?
Probably not.
So, unless, in talking to Clayton, he says, man, I listened to what you say, or Kent, and I said, here's why you didn't make any sales on those. Now, if they can correct me, I might give it one more shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I go out and make a couple sales, I'm going to probably give it another shot. If all you do is sign people up with leads and you don't train them, be involved with them, it's not going to help you. It's not going to help them. This is a calendar that's on here. They can set up their appointments when they have a call. Here's where they make their purchases, and you can see all lead purchases are non-refundable, non-transferable. We get people all the time. They'll spend $500 on leads. They'll take 2 calls, and they'll call and go, hey, Alicia, I want to change my leads. I don't want Medicare leads anymore. I want something else. And we tell them, sorry, I can't do that. Why? That money, we don't have that money. We've already sent that money to the ad agency. The ad agency is not going to let me transfer it. We can't play that game. I wish we could, actually, but we can't. I wish I could call Barrington and go, hey, I changed my mind, man. Send me $9,000 back. And they would be, you'd hear them laughing over the phone as they go tell everybody in the staff, hey, let me tell you what this idiot's asking on the phone over here. So it wouldn't happen that way. Here is one of our SEO sites. So this is, as you can see, we use Benefit Plans of America because Gordon Marketing sounds too salesy. In other words, that sounds like something an agent would look to, but not a consumer. So we use Benefit Plans of America. They have to be simple, but this page is not what people find when they Google search. They eventually find it. What do they find? If you've ever done a Google search, you know how you see that little blurb, 3 or 4, 5 lines, and you pop up 1 through whatever? When you do the next Google search, look at how many actually comes up. So if you Google searched, I don't know, Firehouse number 49, you know, somebody's done that and you'll see a number, it may be 500,000. In other words, there's 500,000 pages with that name in it. But then you want in the top 10. Because how many people Google search here and click to the second page or the third page? Most of us look at the top 10. By the way, if you look at those searches the next time, you'll see ones in the top fold that have like a little P next to them. That means they paid to get their name up there. It is not the top people. Google doesn't care about that. It's money. So it's a paid ad. In other words, it's either an A or a P. I think it's an A, actually. That means it's a paid ad. But what happens is, remember the sites I told you, those run in the background? That's what they find. That's where all the AdWords are. Then if they click on that site, they'll be driven here. When they come here and we're changing this up, we really don't want them doing that. How many of you have done a Google search? Says you can get a free quote here and you find out that every time you do it, you end up having to fill out 3 pages of information. You're never going to get your quote. Some 1,940 people are going to call you back within the next several years. And honestly, I know I've told you this before. I made that mistake back in 2009, I think it was. I filled out a quote to have my car transported from Iowa to Florida. I am still getting emails and calls. I mean, honestly, 10 years later, I've told the guy, man, you guys need to fix your system. You're way behind if you're just now following up with me 10 years later. It's because they sell that to everybody. So people don't like to do it, but some will. If they fill out the quote, we know two things are going to usually happen. Bad phone number, bad email, or both. But we get that. And that will come through our lead management system because it can deliver email leads. What we really want them to do is dial that number. If they dial that number, it works just like a TV ad call. It'll go through our lead management system and connect straight to the agent. So this is where, Kent, I would tell you going next year, these sites do not cost us much. This lead will cost us all in all with our development cost, what we do on the back end, paying our staff to run it, about $1. Maybe $9, in some cases less. So I would develop and get with, I would talk with Randy about it, but get with Jay. I would develop a couple of these sites, because they should differ, in the annuity market. It could be anything, by the way. You guys don't care. Somebody could CD rates, and sometimes if you look, you'll see them, and then when you call, you find out that's what it is. So we have one of these for life. We have two of these for Medicare. And what we want is for this to start replacing our need for leads. And what I mean by that is this. I told you the TV leads are great for what? A really good agent. But how about the agent that can't afford it? New, trying. This is what we'd rather them use. Because we can sell these for $3, $4, $5, and they're okay. They can get 100 of them for a little bit of nothing. They are great leads, by the way. So they're generated primarily through Google, but they'll also be generated through Facebook. Facebook is one of the largest sources right now, fastest growing sources for generating senior leads. Senior business. It's because of crazy things that my mother-in-law does. Heyday. Everybody seen all those crazy games that's out on Facebook? My mother-in-law is 91. She's on Facebook all day long. All day long. And I have to, I hope she don't ever listen to this. I have to cancel all kinds of subscriptions she signs up for all the time. So, I just know what happens. So, here's Medigap Central. This is out there. This one's already working. Let me tell you the difference. A good SEO site will generate 500 to 1,000 leads a day. Think about that for our agents going forward. If I can generate, my goal right now is to generate 500 a day on the site by the end of the year for final expense at a cost of about 80 cents a piece to us. By the way, that includes paying labor. So it costs $1,000 to build, $500 to build a site, to launch the site. What really pays is all the software we have behind it to make it generate and go up the ladder on Google. So requirements for Medicare leads, you have to use 3 core carriers. If you think in your state your core carriers doesn't match those, you just need to let me know. And so I can let Sylvia know. What the key is what? We want at least 3 carriers. Why 3? 1, we want agents not taking our leads and working for somebody else. By the way, you can, I don't care what rule you put in place, you can never stop that. By the way, you live in Indiana, non-appointed state. Do I know who an agent in Indiana is appointed with?
No.
No. So I can tell you, this is all my carriers and lie to you right to your face. Yep, I got all my carriers with you. Nope, I got 10 with somebody else. Now, if you're in Florida, I can look. I can log one, look, here's all your carriers. I can say, hey man, you're lying to me. You got 3 over here. We want them to be with us. The other one is, remember, it's a TV lead. I can take them from all over the country. What's good in one state's not good in the next. If they only have 1 carrier, what's going to happen when they have that call and they can't deal with it? So they need to be with 3 core carriers. Aetna, Cigna, Mutual, Omaha, ARP, you see, you know the list. They need to be licensed in 3, I don't know why we say 3 to 5, we just need to say, they need to be in at least 3 states. 5 is better. All the states is great. And if everyone understands this, I hope you do understand this. Does everybody understand the appointment or the non-resident license process? So Chantel, typical states, not all. Typical states, if I go out on NIPR, NIPR, and I go to fill out my non-resident license, how long does it take me to get one?
Depends on the state.
Yeah, but
not very
typically,
long.
yeah.
A couple days.
You know, with some states, it's almost immediate. I mean, I did my non-res, I was blown away because Indiana used to take a long time. I did my non-res in Indiana and it was issued like within 2 or 3 hours. Now, if you go to a state like North Carolina or some of those, it could take you a few days. My point is this. If your agent takes a call from Oklahoma, doesn't have their non-res, deal with the client, set up the good appointment, start the paperwork, go online and get your license. Then do the app. Why spend all that money up front unless you're an agency and already have the license? So over in the call center, we have all 50 states. But we don't set up all the agents with their non-res until they need them. They take the calls, they set up the appointment, they get their license, they call back and finish the sell. That way your agents don't have to spend all that license, that money up front. But help them. If they're on the Medicare side of things, very important, let me give you the hot states. Hot states where we know we can generate a lot of leads. First and foremost is always, I don't know why, is New York. Okay? New York. New York is a guaranteed issue state, all ages, it doesn't matter. But for whatever reason, we generate both final expense and Medicare a high volume from New York. Usually, it's in the lower Manhattan area, Long Island, and in that area. But New York's a hot state. California, hot state. Why? Obvious reason. It's a country by itself. Ohio is a good state. Pennsylvania is a good state. Florida, but we get too many agents in Florida, it'll shut down fast. Florida is a good state, but even though there's a lot of seniors there, it's harder to get leads there than other states because everybody runs advertising there. Georgia is a good state. Texas, I mean, so all in all, and Michigan. Those are typical states that we know we can pretty much always get a high volume of leads in. And again, if you're going to do New York, they need our New York only UA contract. We're at 26 points in New York. You can put them at 20. They can't get that, and it's guaranteed issue. Guaranteed issue. Again, the monthly service fees going up to $24.95. You got that right? Okay, $24.95. It's still waived if they do $5,000 in production. It's not Alicia's job to go through and see and then waive it. It's their job to say, hey Alicia, I had $4,000 in paid premium, will you waive my fee? We don't credit the one back now, we waive next month's fee. Okay? So it's their responsibility to tell us. It's too difficult for her to go through several hundred agents and see who did and who did not have their credits, unless she decides she wants to do it. And I don't think she does. So. This list has changed, so we're not going to go through that. But again, so I just want to make sure we understand we're not doing away with TV leads. We're just going to restructure how we use them. And really, our goal, because we're getting closer, is that in March, April at the least, we'll be able to start pushing SEO leads, the Google, Facebook leads. In my mind, when I look at it, we're probably looking at a $4 or $5 cost. Most of the ad vendors now sell them for $8. So that tells you the kind of breakies they're making on that. We won't go that high. We don't need to. We do need to pay for development because, keep in mind, the only way that SEO leads work and sites work, you have to change the site daily. Every day, somebody has to be in there 6 to 8 hours a day manipulating the site or they don't work. On Facebook, and I know you all have been asked to show that, we spent $25,000 as the executive team to an outside firm to show us what we were doing wrong on Facebook. And within about a week, they had generated, I don't know how many hundred-folds more traffic than we had generated in a whole year. So we learned from that. And we stole that information. And so what happened was we were buying their Facebook leads. And we said, we don't need to buy your leads anymore. We're just going to do our own site. They knew they were going to lose the traffic. And they said, man, there's got to be something we can do. So yeah, well, you show us what you're doing and we'll pay you. But then we're done. They did it. Don't know why you would do that, but they gave away their secrets. We also have Jay Lane. Jay's very good at SEO and what he does. So, all right. Any questions? Any questions? You guys always look like you're excited, like another meeting. Is everybody got the book, Death by Meeting? Nobody's got the book. You got to look it up on Amazon. It's probably cost you $1. You need to read the book, Death by Meeting. So, any questions? Hey, the guys that are going with me to Orlando, I have your rooms. 3 of you are in one location. Brady, you're in a different location because we just couldn't get enough rooms. But get with me today. We need to start putting our plans together. So help get our plans together so we can start calling. And next week we start the phone clinics back, Wednesday. And Kent, Jan's going to be getting with you. I think we're setting up the 3rd Wednesday of each month. That the phone clinic that day will be for annuity calls, using the script like you did to call our folks. And so on that day, our focus will be on developing annuity business. When we call the other days, it's just what we normally do, okay? No more questions. Hey, everybody have a good day.